Hey folks, I'm Mike. Do you hate ads? I hate ads. You know what I like? Patreon.com/Inkdependence. It keeps this blog ad-free. Hello folks and welcome to Inkdependence.com. Today we're taking a look at this ink. This is a Robert Oster. It's been a little while since I've done an ink review, so it'll be nice to come back to form. This is Robert Oster's Frankly Scarlet, and I was given this ink for review by Federalist Pens, so thank you very much, Frank, for handing this to me at DC. I've since been using it in a couple of pens. I've had it first, whoa, goodness, that's why I keep caps on ink, y'all. The first is in this Namisu Ixion or Ion or whatever. I have refitted this with a Nox nib because I like this better than the Bach nib it came with. It's a little bit on the dry-ish side, so I've been using it in there. And also in this franklin-christoph, it's kind of a Franken pen. It's just some mismatched parts. And in here I have a medium oblique that my buddy Jim Rouse ground for me back in the day. And this one runs a little bit wetter than the Namisu. But this ink looks really nice sloshing around here in this this barrel, which is Italian ice, so it's perfectly clear in this light. All right, so let's take a look at what this ink looks like. And it looks like this. It is, it's like a maroon, really. So when I think Scarlet, as it says here, and I'm glad it says Frankly Scarlet. Like, I think it had to be Frankly Scarlet, as in Frankly Scarlet, I don't give a damn. I really like that a lot. So that's a good little bit of pun action. This ink, however, is not what I think of as Scarlet. When I think of Scarlet, I think of this bright red, like this. This is Caran d'Ache infrared, and this is what I think of when I think of Scarlet, which is kind of like an intense red, a bright red. And Robert Oster's Frankly Scarlet is really more of a maroon, if you ask me. Now, I've seen this in a couple of other Scarlets, and so it's entirely possible that some people are using, you know, a different sort of Scarlet as their benchmark for this. Like, shoot, who else has one? I want to say like Toucan Scarlet is like this, but maybe I'm wrong about that. Anyway, some other Scarlets for sure come off in this sort of maroon color, and frankly, Scarlet is like that. Now, you do get some shading out of this ink and a little tiny bit of sheen. You can see a little bit of green sheen here around the edge, perhaps. It's not going to be a whole lot, though. It's a fairly minor sheen as far as that all goes. So I would say don't think about this as a sheening ink, but you do get a little bit of shading, as you can see here in some of the text I wrote. Most of this is written with the Namisu pen. You can see there are two samples down here in the different sorts of nibs that I was using, and they look pretty similar, really. There's not like a huge disparity or anything in the way that these write. However, this one is a little bit drier, and so you'll see that you get more of the pinker undertones in this maroon, whereas in the franklin-christoph it's a little bit darker. You get a little bit more shading because you get some of this dark action here, like on this M, which is very, very dark, and then some of the lighter bits here in the sweeps of the L's and that sort of jazz. I also did like a little scribble here just to see how that would come out, because sometimes it looks different that way. And I think they look fairly close, but again, franklin-christoph comes off a little darker, and the Namisu comes off a little bit lighter, just based on the the relative wet and dryness of these two nibs. So keep that in mind when using this ink. But it's not one of these inks that changes a humongous amount when you use a different nib. All right, so let's do water drop test right quick. Look at it on some different papers. Look at it compared to some other inks, and then get out of here. All right, so here is some water. Yep. Oh man, I'm having a little bit of a volume issue. There we go. All right, good enough. And let's go ahead and wipe it up. Yep. Stuck to the paper. All right, there we go. Yeah, not a whole heck of a lot left here, huh? I just kind of obliterated that water drip test bit. So yeah, not water resistant at all. Now you don't get too many water resistant reds. I hear it's one of the inks that's more difficult to make water resistant, and that seems to be borne out here pretty well. So no water resistance to speak of on Frankly Scarlet. Here is the chromatography for this ink. There you go. As you can see, there is a little bit left down here, a little bit of pink left. And I suppose there's a little bit of pink left here, but not much at all. I think it performed better on this chromatography strip than it did on the actual paper. But most of the ink goes up here to the top, where it just stopped. I stopped giving it water and it stopped moving. This is not one that kept moving very long after I took it out of the water. So some inks will like sort of keep wicking as long as any water at all moves, but this one seems like it was a little bit more stubborn. So I had some hope for water resistance, but none to speak of. Okay. Let's look at it on some different papers. I do notice, or I do note here that there is some very mild bleed on 20-pound paper, and we're about to see that on the 20-pound paper here from Staples. This is just your regular average, very average copy paper. Back out a little bit. There you go. So it looks pretty good on here. You don't see a whole lot of bleeding or feathering or spreading or anything here on our sample. Again, you do see sort of a lighter color from the Nimisu and a darker color from the franklin-christoph. That's down to the wetness of the nib, and you can also see that reflected back here. The lines we're looking at are these. And this top line really doesn't even really show through because it doesn't put down that much ink, but you do still get a good color. And then down here on the bottom, where I was using the franklin-christoph nib that's tuned wetter, you get a little bit of ghosting and a couple of tiny spots of show through and that kind of stuff. No real bleed, but like a little bit. I think you could probably still use both sides of the paper on this one, but use it in a drier nib, it will perform very well on sort of office quality copy paper. So that's cool. Here is my currently inked journal with wheat straw paper, and I have two pages here. And as you can see, again, Nimisu lighter, franklin-christoph darker, and this is from the very beginning when I inked these up. This one in August and this one in September. So there we go. All right. Here is an ink journal. This is the Tomoe River ink journal. And where's my tab? There it is. And it's these two. Down here I have a Pen BBS ink I'll be doing in the nearish future. But these two are the ones in question. Again, Nixon lighter, franklin-christoph darker. You actually get a lot of really nice variation in this one. Let me get a little closer to the lens. Yeah. You get a lot of nice shading on this Frankly Scarlet here on Tomoe River. Okay, let's take a look at a couple of comparisons. Pardon the technical difficulties, my camera battery decided to suddenly die. Okay, we're back. So this is a coloring card. This is actually a Colodex card. It's built for Rolodexes, which I still haven't gotten one yet. And here is Monteverde's Mercury Noir, which is pretty close, I think. And then franklin-christoph's Sweet Maroon, which is also pretty close. I think Sweet Maroon has a little bit more shading and a little bit more sheen than the Robert Oster sample. Monteverde's Mercury Noir is a little bit pinker, I believe. It just runs a little bit closer to red. Well, I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell with these when they shade all the way down to pink, as some of these are wont to do. So these are both in the same kind of color space as the Robert Oster ink. All right. Those over there. Here is a pretty sheeny ink. This is Sailor's Kobe number 6 Bordeaux. And this one is the same kind of color family as the Robert Oster Frankly Scarlet, but it has a whole lot more sheen, and that kind of obscures the color a little bit when viewed from certain angles, but you can see some there. And then let's put up here, this is Noodler's Antietam. And Antietam, I think, comes off a little bit, I'm not exactly sure what to say, a little bit browner perhaps than Frankly Scarlet. It's pretty close. I think Frankly Scarlet flows better. I remember Antietam being incredibly dry and just kind of, I didn't like it. So I would say of these two, definitely get the Frankly Scarlet. But this one, if you want to get a lot more sheen in a similar color, go for the Sailor Kobe. Of course, these are in different like price families. Noodler's Antietam goes for like, I don't know, $8 a bottle or something, I think. Robert Oster's Frankly Scarlet goes for $17 to $18 a bottle, and the Sailor Kobe is, I don't know, 30 or 40. So very expensive to get that bit of sheen there. Then Here is Diatramentis Bordeaux. I probably should have done both Bordeauxs at the same time, but that's what you get. And then Monteverde's Canyon Rust, which is, I think, a little bit browner, a little bit oranger than either of these two. And Diatramentis Bordeaux is more saturated than the Frankly Scarlet. You don't really get any sheen or shading or anything off of Bordeaux. It's just this is the color that it is. So if you want to go a little bit more orangey red, go for the Canyon Rust. If you want to get a little bit more shading, go for the Frankly Scarlet. And if you want to get just a saturated deep color of this sort, go for this Bordeaux. And again, none of these really fit Scarlet, which is why I think this Carina Ash is much more scarlety than the others. All right. Okay, so this has been Robert Oster's Frankly Scarlet. Thanks very much for watching. Thank you again to Federalist Pens for sending this out for review. Like, comment, subscribe, tell a friend about the channel, become a patron to support ink dependence, and I will see y'all later. Peace out.